we are discussing about how the problem can be located, the research problem or research question. So we had seen that how we have to initiate the program for research work. So we had seen that what are the problems related with our how we have to be very active in making the research problem or locating the problem. You have to be very curious. We have to become very attentive, and we have to be very curious that what are the things which are happening in our day-to-day life, how the things are happening. So we have to see the things in a very attentive manner, and we have to see that how the perspectives which have been discussed by previous scholars and how they can be taken in another way. And we have to consider the approach to a situation often provides new opportunities. So research always give you a new path for investigations or new ideas or the thought. So let us see that how the problem can be identified. We are discussing in a very brief manner in the last class. So the problem is the aspect of research. So how we are thinking about anything, how we are worried about anything, and how we want a solution for that problem, if any problem is around us. So the purpose is main to how the problems can be resolved by researcher. So examples have been given, the how, why, when, these are the questions, and the what, how the things are happening. So ways of the problem identifications, how can we identify the research problems related with. So there are we have seen that the events which are happening in our day-to-day life every day. So from the life experience, we can draw some of the research problems or problem can be identified. How the things are happening, why these are taking place. So this and there are kindly mute yourself. So there are some of the historical incidents also. If you go through the past history, you will see that there are so many events which have been not resolved. There are the questions related with the past history. They have been not resolved. So these are the ideas from which we can take it from the holy past, from our historical documents and other things. We are going through the newspapers and we see that how the newspapers gives the informations related with national and international events which are taking place. So some of the problems can be also taken by the items of the newspapers also. Some of the things which are happening before us. So we are witnessing the events ourselves. So some of the things which are not, Sir Isaac Newton, I had given you the example that how the fruits are falling down from the tree. So this I witness some of the problems which are located by ourselves. There are some of the local issues, whether it is municipality or whether it is a city problem or society problem. This can be also problem can be also identified through these also. There are so many problems of a country or a nation or a state. How these are happening in our state, country, or nation. So how can these problems related with the society, economy, or polity can be developed? How a nation can be developed? So these can be also identified. The research problems may be also taken from that. Cyber inspirations. Nowadays, Google has become a lot of giving a lot of information related with every aspect. So if you go through the some of the informations, you will find that how the some of the things which are not acceptable to a researcher or to a person, then the research problems can be also undertaken from that. So this is the how we can develop our idea. So these are the main questions related when a research scholar is registered for PhD work. Then he has to depend mainly on the research materials available in the Buddhist literature or in the journals also. So literatures are the main source of problem identification. If you know, if we go through the previous scholars' theories as well as the books, the research papers, you can judge that how the research problems have been undertaken by those scholars, and what are the research methods which were taken by the previous scholars, how these problems were resolved by those previous scholars. So these literature gives us informations for the development of thought or the ideas. So see, if you go through the library, you will find that there are so many abstracts of the thesis which are in periodical form. So if you go through the social sciences abstracts or the humanities abstracts, in university grants commissions also publishes the informations that which theses have been submitted on in the universities. So from the sociological abstracts, dissertations, abstracts, in each library there are number of dissertations and theses which are kept there. If a researcher can go through all the dissertations, abstracts in related with the research work, he can find out some of the ideas or the research problems. So this literature is a continuous process, literature review or literature search related with your work. These are our the source for the idea development. Again, we are searching through the internet or the Google. You can find out so many informations related with your research also. If you go through the high Buddhism, H Buddhism, or there are so many sites on the Buddhism, you can find or you can collect some of the informations related with your research work. You have to see that how these researches were prepared and what are the research gaps, what are the things which are not undertaken by the research. There were some limitations to the previous scholars, and but a scope were given to the future scholars also. So this is the you can go through the scanning of the internet materials, or you there are national archives where the manuscripts or the materials are kept there. There are so many persons, scholars who are writing blogs. If you go through the blogs, there are informations related with the Pali literature, Buddhist Sanskrit literatures, Buddhist history, or Buddhist philosophy. So by going through the blogs, you can also have an idea or the thought related with your research work. So here the whatever the we are having the URL and the data browsing without fail. So when you go through the internet or you are browsing your URL, note down that on which date you have accessed any material. So it must be kept in your laptop or in any diary so that you can give the informations at the end of your research paper or at the end of your thesis also. So related with your research work, you have to locate some of the good scholars who have written some of the research papers and the books, like David J. Kahlupahana, Asang Tilak Ratne. There are so many scholars who have written, Professor G.C. Pandey. So you have to identify some of the very good authors or the researchers related with your topic, and even the institutions which are active related with your research work are also. There are some of the facilities which are not available in some of the universities, but you can identify that which university even people are more interested to join the foreign universities or the authors because they have the good libraries. There are number of books which are accessed in those libraries. So these if you go through the institutions, very good institutions, if you make contact with the good scholars, then you can find out some of the research problems also whenever you are making a dialogue or you are making interactions with those scholars of those universities, then you can get it. So these are some of the things if you discuss with the good scholars, then the ideas come after making discussions. You can summarize your thoughts or the research problems. You can crystallize your ideas, frame the objectives, and prepare the first draft of your research proposal. So this is the a starting point of initiating that how you can do it. So research is not only that for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months you are making literature review. Literature review is a continuous process till the submission of your research thesis. You have to be aware that how many books have been written, new books, new arrival of the journals and the books related with your research internationally. You have to be very aware of that. You have to make a correspondence with the experts. You have to make a, contact with the experts related with your research. Then you can make a draft of the research problem. Now, how the problems can be identified? So here, the problem background, let us see one by one. So see, are there issues about this problem to which answers have not been found out to the present? If you go through the literatures which have been written related with your research work, you will find that what are the main issues which were not discussed by the previous scholar. If you go through the conclusion or if you go through the abstract of the research thesis or the research papers, you will find that what are the problems which have been discussed and what are the research problems which have been not undertaken by those scholars. So why are these identified issues so important? Now you have to see that how research problem is relevant to your subject, to your department, to your university, to your institution, to your nation and state. In what way this research is this research is going to help the university or an individual person or to a nation or country or a state in the development of polity, economy, or society. In what way your research is more relevant? Why you are taking, what are the main objectives of the research? So these are the things which have been kept in our mind also. What needs to be solved? The problems which are arising, they are having the hypothesis, that is the present solutions. You have to see it. What are the underlying assumptions? What are the main problems? The solution of those problems. So these which are arising in our mind, the present solution of those research problems, they are called as hypothesis or anuman. Anuman is also a kind of philosophy which discusses about the logic, reasoning, and epistemology. So, but here Anuman is that you are making assumption that what will be the solution or answer of this research problem. So this is the underlying assumption. Now we have to initiate the problem. So how the problem, the identified problems, the research problems which have been identified, how we have to initiate the research, how we have to make a process of those research problems which have been identified. So outline the general context of problem area. So you have to see that what is the main idea, general idea of the problem. You have to write down, highlight key theories. If you go through the abstract of the paper or abstract of the thesis, the problems which are written in 250 words of the research paper, you will see that how the key words which have been defined by the author of the research paper. So, in your research proposal, you have to identify or highlight the key theories, concepts, and the ideas current in that problem area. So in every research paper, if you go through, there are five, six, seven key words related with the research which are defined in the abstract of the research papers. They are explained in a very detailed manner in the research paper or the thesis. So here you have to identify that what are the keywords. You have to select it. Enlist basic underlying assumptions and theory regarding to problem. If there is a research problem, you have to see that what are the underlying assumptions or the solutions and the theory regarding that research problems, like a Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path. But what are the research problems which are arising? Because some of the scholars are of the opinion that this Four Noble Truth was not preached by the Buddha. It was introduced by the later acharyas. So it may be under the एक new theory you are interpreting the things. If you go through the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar book, Buddha in his Dhamma, some of the theories related with the law of dependent originations, concept of law and law of karma and rebirth, they are not telling with the teachings of the Buddha. They have been interpreted in different manners. So, what are the theories which you are initiating those problems? Write down the identified important issues. You have to note down in your research paper. Focus on what is to be solved and resolved because you have to write down the main objectives and the aims of your research thesis. So you have to focus only 4, 5 research problems because these research problems will be your main chapters of the thesis. So you have to focus. You have to mainly you do not have to make so many questions also because it will be creating or creating confusions in the research also. So you have to identify that what are the main objectives which can be solved with the help of the research tools or research methods or with the help of our hypothesis. So here there is a problem statement. If you are making a research proposal, then you have to be very cautious and aware that the problems which you have been research problems which you have selected or identified the locate or we have located the research problems, they are grammatically correct. If you are writing in English or Nepali or Hindi or whatever the subject, mm, the language counts a lot of things because if the language is in a very simple manner or in a lucid manner, then it will be very comfortable to the readers also. So the proposal which you have prepared, it must be grammatically correct. You have to take help of those persons who are checking the spelling mistakes and other things or grammar things. You can take helps from the grammarly insights through the Google or through the internet also. There are so many tools or the software which are correcting the spellings of the or mistakes of the sentences. So you can take help of those software also. Or artificial intelligence has become one of the more main tool of correcting all these things. But we do not have to depend on this artificial intelligence because there are some of the things which are not tallying with the teachings of the Buddha. So we have to be very much based upon the teachings of the Buddha, which are available in Buddhist literature, whether they are in Pali, Sanskrit, Tibetan, Chinese, Korean, Japanese. What were the things? The problem statement, the problem which have been identified or located, they must be complete, ambiguous, and well articulated. It must be specific also. There, it's the questions, the research questions should not have any vague or any not answerable questions. So it must be complete in the sentences, and they must be articulated well. All the technical terms are suitably defined. If you are writing research proposal, then the technical terms which you are going to discuss in your research thesis, technical terms must be defined because the readers might not be aware of those technical terms which you are going to discuss. So, for the new readers, these technical terms which you are going to discuss, they must be suitably defined. Division in the sub-problems for better management of the study and the further translation into research questions. Now, there are some of the questions, the research questions, which have been located. There must be sub-questions to each question also for the better management of a study, how you can proceed your paper. So under one questions, there might be 3, 4 sub-questions also. We'll discuss that how sub-questions can be created and how these sub-questions can help you in making the hypothesis, anuman of your research problem also. So this is the you can make some of the problems in the divisions, or you can make sub questions of your research problems also. How you have to divide your research problems. So see the questions which you are research question must be broad. It must be well articulated. The questions must be answerable. They must be associated, each questions must be associated with the sub questions. It gives insight to understand the problem very well by the readers also. Then address each sub questions. If there are 3, 4 questions, sub questions of one research problem or research questions, then you have to address all these sub questions. They are going to integrate the answer. Whatever the research problem you are having, they are going to make integrity of those answers of questions. Then finally, we are having the conclusion or findings of our research problems or the answers through the method of research tool. So we have to make subdivisions of our research problems first of all, and it must be articulated, and each question must have sub questions, and sub questions must be addressed very well, which will integrate the answers of those questions, and then finally we are having the solution. So see how the research questions are formed. Let us see one by one. So we have seen that any questions which arises in our mind, it is based upon the logic and reasoning. Any research problem which arises, they must be discussed or they must be investigated on the basis of logic and reasoning. So until Buddha also says that whatever the things which are coming to you, do not accept it as it comes to you by uh, for the sake of hearsay, by the sake of hearing anything, by the sake of any guru or the teachers. You have to investigate with logic and reasoning based upon the materials which are available in Buddhist literature. So this is the research question, a logical statement that progress. And what is known, if you go through the literature review of the previous scholars, you will see that how some of the theories which are known to us and they are factual, but which is unknown and needs validations. Some of the research gaps or research scope or the questions which have not been answered by the previous scholars, they must be investigated, they must be tested, they must be validated with the research materials available to us on the basis of our research methods, whatever we are having. So there are generally two forms of the research questions, central questions and associated or sub questions. So central questions are the main questions. There are five main questions related with your research thesis, but there are some associated questions. How this, see, there are the main question or central question is how can the quality of Indian research be raised? This is the any country that how education of a nation or the country can be developed or raised. Then what can be the sub questions? See, which are the governing factors? Who are governing? Who are making the rules and regulations for the universities or the higher institutions or the colleges or the primary schools and other things? Who are the governing ministers of education and other administrations which are involved in districts as well as in commissionary also? So we whether they are uh, one responsible for making the quality of the research. So this can be sub question. What is to be changed in the education system? We are talking always that how education system can be changed. India had a very, you can say, Gurukul system or Mahavihar system, which was developed in 6th century BC in Nalanda Mahavihar, Odantpuri Mahavihar, Bikramshila Mahavihar, Takshashila Mahavihar. There were so many systems of education which was developed, but how they were changed during the British period and how in the present system, the education system, whether they have declined or they have raised. These are some of the things which can be investigated. What could be the incentives? How the quality of the research can be developed or raised? What incentives we can give to the research scholar, to the universities, to the higher institutions or the colleges, how we can improve the quality. It is not just a magical stick that within 1 year or 6 months the quality can be developed. It is a continuous process from the primary school to higher educations to our research, how the quality can be developed at each stage. So this is the sub questions, these are which can be developed. So see, research questions to be investigated, to be researched a research problem has to be translated into one or more research questions. We have seen that how a research questions must associate some of the sub questions also. So type of the we are giving one or two examples we, for the sake of understanding that how the sub questions can be developed in our Buddhist studies also. So type of research questions, so what questions require? So there are mainly three questions related with the problem, research questions, what, why, and how. These are the main questions related with all our happening or events which are taking place in our day-to-day life. So what questions require a descriptive answer, describing the features of a given phenomena, the events or the things which are taking place in our day-to-day life, how the states which are happening. Then why questions ask for the causes and reason for the observed feature. We also know that Buddhism does not believe in the Almighty God or there is no any concept of creator in Buddhism. All things which are happening in our day-to-day life, they are based upon cause and conditions. Everything which comes into existence, they are based upon any cause, hetu, and conditions, that is the pratyaya. So how these two things are causally related with each other? How the 12 links of law of dependent originations are causally related with each other. So how the things, the ignorance is related with the mental dispositions, how the mental dispositions are causally related with the beyond or the consciousness. So these are some of the uh, ideas or the thoughts which you can seek to understand the relations between the social process, the society in which we are living, how the people are causally related with the nature and environment, how the man is causally related with the nature and the environment. These social things we have to find out the why these are taking place, how the animals which are also associated with the man, how the things, if there is no any human being, there will be no any our animals and human, our plants also. So they both of them are causally related with each others. How questions are concerned with bringing about change, suggesting possible interventions and outcomes. So these you have to uh, we have to solve it through the research methods, how the tools through the research materials available in the commentaries or the sub-commentaries or in the canonical or non-canonical literature. So we have to see it. So type of questions, how the questions can be investigated, they can be validated, they can be tested also. So there are three types of main questions, research questions which are arising: testable questions, closed questions, and open questions. These are the questions which are generally coming to our mind also. Testable questions are those questions which are investigated on the basis of the literature which are available to us, and with the help of the research methods we can develop it. So these testable questions should help building theories and experiments and carrying out analysis. If you are making analysis of any or making interpretations of the things based upon the canonical, non-canonical commentary or literature, so these are tested, these are validated. Any research problem which are in arises for your research problem, these must be validated or these must be tested also. So here there is a closed question. Closed questions means it does not have any specific answer. If there is a question, there is any direct answer of that. So there is a example that what is the trend of inflation rate during the last 12 months. No one can say in a very direct or a specific manner that what is the exact rate of inflation. So the answer is very close to, you can say this. So this is called as closed questions. Open questions may have multiple answers and require empirical research. So there are some of the questions for those questions. There are so many answers also. There are multiple answers, but it can be tested through empirical research or quantitative research based upon the our numerical data, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That if through the statistical data, if you are making the answers, there will be so many answers. Quantitative method, you will discuss that what is the difference between qualitative method and quantitative method. So here it is empirical research, means that you have to take help of the statistical data or tools through which you can, like sampling method or questionnaire method. So there might be so many answers of those questions also. So like, see, what will be the example? What will be the expenditure pattern of middle income households in the Indian metropolitan cities in the next 5 years? So within 5 years, there will be so many answers also of those things. It depends upon the our how the production of the crops, how there is a bumper crop, there is a flood also, there is a devastation. So we are not having of that. So there will be many answers of those questions. That within 5 years, there will be not any specific answer of those questions. So this is called as open questions. So now let us come to the research questions pointer. Now we have seen that how we have to locate the research problems. But now we have to see that how the research questions can be pointed out. So there are 6, 7 pointers like existence, descriptions and classifications, composition, relationship, descriptive, comparative, causality, comparative. So these are some of the things which are being undertaken by the research scholars. Like, see, existence, there are some of the pointers. If anyone who is interested to do research related with the dementia or how the old age problems of the people are taking place nowadays. So do senior citizens suffer memory loss? So this is coming under the existence. If you making any description or the classifications of the research, then it is come under the description and classification. So what are the characteristics of a span of attention? Is it constant? So if you are making description of any event or any happenings, then we have to see that what are the characteristics of those attentions, is that constant or not. Now there are some of the things which can be composed, like what elements define the leadership, what are the characteristics which define the leadership. So this is a can be composed. Relationship is saving directly related to income. How the two things are causally related with each other. How the income production of the crop is dependent on the seeds of the our crops. So this is saving directly related to income. Descriptive and comparative. There is another way of research also. Are instructions booklets with text and graphics more effective than those with text alone? So now there are some of the books which are given the graphs as well as some of the instructions, they are becoming more effective. So whether they are more effective than those which are available as a text alone. So this is another way of research pointer. Then causality, that how the things are happening, how the things are taking place. So here the example has been given nowadays, MTS, multitask persons in the companies or in the institutions, multitask persons are being appointed to do all the responsibilities of the companies, like from taking care of typing to making it in publishing form. So all these, whether they are degrading the performance of the company or any work culture. So this is how the things are related with that. Another is the causality comparative is swimming better than cycling to build the physical stamina. So this there is a comparative also as well as a causality also. So a research question feature, how a research question must have some of the feature. We have discussed that research question must be well articulated. It must be specific also. It must be well grounded. Well grounded means it must be answered very well to the. There must be some hypothesis and there must be answer of those research questions also. So here there are some of the features of the research questions. That research question should be well grounded. Well grounded means that they are searchable questions. If they are searched, they must be tested and validated, and then there will be conclusion or there will be findings of that questions also. Well grounded questions are not too narrow, too broad, nor too challenging. So this is the things that research questions must be undertaken by a researcher, which should not be too narrow. Narrow means it cannot be answered very well. Too broad, it must not have be too broad, nor too challenging. Here, the research is to be completed within a period of 3 years or 4 years. So, if it is challenging, it will take much time for completion of that text. So, for the research, it must be well grounded also. In practice, it implies inclusion of the keywords or the terms one can use to search information resources, both online and print, to know more about research done in that area. So nowadays in practice, we are doing that. We are taking help of the keywords of the research paper or the research thesis, and we are making interpretations of those keywords in the thesis with the help of the research questions as well as the research method also. So what is the too narrow, too broad, and too challenging? So let us understand that what are the questions, research questions, which are too narrow or too broad or too challenging. So does India have a social security system? When was the emergency declared in India? These questions have a only simple answer, that is the yes or no. When was the emergency declared in 1975? In one word, the answer can be given in one word. So this is very narrow. It cannot be researched or it cannot be investigated. True broad means if you are taking the research questions, that what is the history and value of philosophy? So it is too vast. It cannot be answered in a very limited period. So this question cannot be covered in the scope of the single work. It is not only a PhD research work. It is a continuous process that history and value of philosophy, there will be so many volumes of those. If you go through the Carl H. Potter's Encyclopedia of Philosophy, you see that how many volumes have been written down. So it cannot be, this is a broad, too broad. It cannot be undertaken as a research work for the PhD. Too challenging. We should not take any too challenging research problems for our research thesis also, like what is the Indian college education so lopsided? It is very challenging. Nobody can say that how Indian college system can be upgraded or something like that. This questions too is opinion based and is based upon the people's feeling and would not need a very large study. So this is very challenging. So we have to be very cautious for selecting the research questions. Now, research questions, how we are discussing the research questions must have the sub questions also. So, like the main topic of the research question is a study of the midday meal scheme in the municipal schools in Varanasi during 2015 to 20. This is our empirical research based upon the statistical data. So within 5 years, we have to see that we have to make a survey that how the midday meal scheme in the municipal schools of Varanasi for the period 2015 to 20. So now the research questions can be framed. See, this is the main burning topic or burning topic for the society in the how this midday meal scheme can be investigated. So research question, what are the health and academic benefits of the midday meal scheme in primary and in middle school sections of the municipal schools in Varanasi during the time period of 2015 to 20. So this is the main research question. So midday is the main problem of the society of Varanasi, of the municipal schools related with the middays. But how the research questions can be framed, this is one of the example that whether the health and academic benefits of the midday school in primary as well as in middle schools, sections of the municipal schools in Varanasi, this can be studied. So sub questions, how the sub questions can be, we are discussing that each question must be associated with the sub questions also. How the sub questions can be created. These are some of the examples. Sub questions are narrower questions that together answer the research questions. If the three, four sub questions are framed, then these are going to help the main research questions to answer the main research questions. Like example, see what are the health and academic benefits of the midday meal scheme in primary? This is the research question main. What are the sub questions? See, there are four sub questions related. These four sub questions will help to answer the first research questions. That is the what are the standards of the health and academic performance adopted by the concerned public authorities in Varanasi? This is the first sub question. Second, is there a difference made by the midday meal scheme in the health and academic performance of elementary and middle school sections of the municipal schools in Varanasi? Now, there we have to see that the difference how the made by the midday meal scheme in the health and academic performance. Then, does the midday meal supply a certain amount of nutrition value to the students of the primary as well as secondary schools? Then, how does a midday meal scheme operate and in what way they can be strengthened and expanded. So if you see that if you are going to solve these four questions, these will help us in answering the main research question that what are the health and academic benefits. In the same manner, in research related with the Buddhist studies, if you make any research problem, then there are 4, 5 research sub questions also, because these are helping us to solve it. So, what is the good questions? Let us see that the good questions related with the research must be having a specific in nature or character. It must be answerable. It must be a specific answerable. The sub questions must be interconnected with each other and substantially relevant to the society, economy, polity of the nation or university institutions, whatever. So sub questions could be converted into hypothesis if justified. Hypothesis is the present solution which is arising based upon the research questions. So we have seen that there are sub questions also. So these sub questions can be also answers, present solutions of the research questions also. So these can be also developed in our. So this is the our. We are coming to the main our that how the research questions, the research problem, research questions, research objectives, and hypothesis. Any research proposal which is being prepared by the research scholar, he has to first of all make the research problem, then he has to make the research questions, then based upon the research questions, research objectives, aims of the research can be prepared, because these will be the chapters of your thesis also. And then hypothesis, that is the anuman, that is the present solution of that problem also. So we are having only 5 minutes